Why aren't homes built out of giant Legos? You know how they can make an infinitely customizable range of buildings, cars, and rocket ships out of a repeated set of building blocks combined in new and fantastic ways? And it's not just the toy industry that has managed to do this. In this age of advanced manufacturing, when robots are building other robots and we're 3D printing organs, why are homes as a thing and the construction process that produces them still unchanged for the better part of a century? The construction industry has had so little innovation that worker productivity is lower today than it was in the 1960s. One developer described it as, while we're all walking around with iPhones, construction is still stuck in place with corded landlines. Even agriculture has seen more innovation in the past 80 years than construction. So how have plastic toys and tilling dirt become more optimized than our homes and buildings, where we spend 90% of our lives? We all deserve to be able to live healthy, sustainable, and modern lives, and our built environment defines that ability. At HumanKind Homes, we believe that housing is a human right, and that low cost doesn't have to mean low quality. My name is Elliot Kahn, and despite being here today, I never actually planned to start my own company. When I was working as a mechanical engineer a few years ago, I didn't just wake up one day and realize I wanted to start a home construction business. What I realized was that I was sick of living in a built environment that I constantly had to fight against instead of it working for me. I was sick of trying to live a healthy, modern life while worrying about mold or not having internet in the room that was supposed to be my office. I was working in a tech lab, 3D printing objects over Wi-Fi. Yet when I went home, I could get internet in just 2 rooms of my house. I felt like every time I went home from work, I was traveling back in time. And despite my crappy apartment, I considered myself lucky compared to the millions out there who didn't have access to shelter of any kind, or who are having to choose between paying rent or buying food and medicine. Our current dilapidated construction process has been pushed past its breaking point. Now it can't keep up with demand because it's essentially too expensive to build quality, affordable housing, largely in part due to a skilled labor shortage and rising material prices. Since construction costs account for more than half the total price of a home, and given the lack of innovation in this industry, fixing the construction process seems like the best way to improve housing. But affordability is only one of the problems with housing today. The other two being sustainability and health quality. Building homes that are affordable but harmful to the planet and the inhabitants doesn't really sound like a good solution. And there are newer companies that are prefabricating modular homes and 3D printing walls to build energy-efficient buildings. The problem is that energy efficiency doesn't equate to sustainability. It's literally only half the equation. The other half is all of the embodied carbon emissions that happen before you move into the home. Things like manufacturing steel and concrete, the gas from big trucks transporting materials hundreds of miles, or opting to use petroleum-based foam as insulation. Without addressing the entire equation of carbon emissions, it's mathematically impossible to know if the solution being provided is actually sustainable or if it's unintentionally doing more harm than good. Likewise for health quality. While consumers shouldn't be expected to know the nuances of every material of the home they're living in, the architects and builders of those homes should certainly know exactly that. Like we now know about lead pipes and asbestos. Just because it's cheap does not mean we should be building with it. Even health and sustainability aside, none of the solutions we've seen have the flexibility to address the vast array of different types of housing that the market needs. Not everybody can or wants to live in a shipping container or downsize to a 300 square foot hut. Any solution that wants to actually address the housing crisis needs to be able to build homes that work for people. Everything from those tiny homes up to homes for a full multi-generational family and their stuff, ADA compliant and all. Looking at the landscape of construction companies, we couldn't find one that was addressing all 3 problems of affordability, sustainability, and health quality while being flexible enough to build the diverse homes that are needed. We started HumanKind Homes to be that company. And my team and I are not a group of architects and real estate developers trying to figure out how to cut costs through vintage thinking. We're a group of engineers and designers approaching the entire home as a product from an engineering-first perspective and reimagining what housing could be like if we don't keep ourselves constrained to technology from the past. With backgrounds in robotics, materials, eco-home design, and VR simulation, we're starting a digital-born company, leapfrogging from the landline era, past the iPhone, and into the next generation of virtual reality and automated construction. One of the jargony things they teach in mechanical engineering is how to design for manufacturing and assembly, DFMA, meaning figure out the most optimal solution to your problem and then engineer the best way for that product to be made and assembled. That's what we're doing to the whole home. What we've created is a set of customizable interlocking bricks made of locally sourced recycled materials that can combine together to make complete weather-tight structures. Starting with designing the home in VR, we can let every stakeholder involved visualize the product and make changes without having to understand complex blueprints. From this, we can generate a customized set of bricks needed for that specific home design. We can even simulate the on-site construction process, letting virtual avatars run through different order of operations to determine the best way to build before we ever break ground. And while this all sounds flashy, what it really does is streamline the design and construction process. We can cut design time in half and virtually eliminate cost and time overruns, issues that plague over 75% of projects today. In order to create a system that's affordable, sustainable, and healthy, we've replaced the normally dozens of materials, connectors, and parts that are needed to make that weather-tight structure and simplify them all down to one material, geopolymer concrete. Geopolymer concrete produces less than 10% of the carbon emissions as normal concrete. Not only is it a sustainable alternative, it's an improved material, one which was used to make structures like the aqueducts, which have lasted over 2,000 years. Our proprietary mix allows us to turn local recycled materials directly into a home right there on site, without multiple intermediate manufacturing and transportation steps, reducing both costs and carbon emissions. And just like Legos, stacking these bricks doesn't require a skilled mason with years of experience. While we're not going to say this process is okay for ages 4 to 99, it does open the labor pool to a much wider group than traditional construction, both in terms of skill and demographics. A recent survey found that 95% of builders said that finding skilled workers was their biggest problem, which is leading to rising labor costs and project delays. Our on-site assembly, rather than construction, eliminates that problem. With a kit of bricks and accompanying assembly instructions, we stack them like building blocks and then spray them down with another proprietary variation of that same geopolymer concrete. This method allows us to not only remove the mortar and rebar from the process, but also removes the need for drywall, insulation, the siding of the house, and all of those intermediate connectors. We've managed to build the entire physical structure from foundation to roof with a single supply chain material and a simple assembly process. Using 3D printing, each brick is customizable to adapt to different build sites and can mount any number of currently existing products without added cost. We can build infinitely flexible homes with a small set of repeated parts. And if issues arise on site or we need a custom piece, that's as simple as editing the digital model for our on-site 3D printers, and we have a new part right there in a matter of hours. This combination of reducing labor costs, condensing multiple fragmented systems into a single product with a single supply chain, and using just-in-time manufacturing has allowed us to bring the cost of construction down to under $250 per square foot in less than 2 months of on-site build time. The average numbers in Portland to compare those to are $332 per square foot and over 10 months of build time. But that's not really an apples-to-apples comparison either, because those are average numbers resulting in standard homes. The resulting home you get when we're done is a fully electric, customizable, completely net zero energy home, filled with quality of life improvements like smart home controls, radiant floor heating, EV car charging, the works. We refuse to accept that low-cost housing has to mean low quality. By addressing all of the problems of home design and construction right from the beginning, we've been able to develop a completely vertically integrated system, which not only reduces costs, but allows us to invest in sustainable and healthy building practices. To get there, we're starting with the first pilot project. And for the first time today, we're pleased to announce that we've secured a partnering development firm to work with, Little Ram Capital. This first development will be a cottage cluster of net zero energy homes here in the Portland metro area. Our developer partner has a real estate investment trust ready to finance the construction of those homes, with a plan to break ground in early 2022. To follow that project up, just last week we launched a pre-order list and already have over half a dozen people waiting, with a total estimated revenue of over $2.5 million. But first, we need to scale up our manufacturing and have our process go through certification in order to apply for the building permit. If you're an accredited investor interested in being involved in the next generation of housing, we invite you to reach out. If you'd like to live in a home of the future, sign up for our pre-order list on our website,